You're not losing her because you're not good enough. You're losing her because you've been lied to about what it means to be a man. They told you to be nice, to always be available, to put her needs before yours. But here's the brutal truth. Women don't want a man who chases them. They want a man who chases purpose. They don't want a man who pleases them. They want a man who pleases himself. They don't want a man who needs them. They want a man who doesn't need anyone. If you're tired of being ignored, disrespected, and left behind, it's time to wake up. Because the man who women can't ignore is not the one who tries to be everything to her. He's the one who becomes everything to himself. You're here because you're ready for change. You're tired of the lies, the games, the confusion. You want clarity, power, and control over your life and relationships. That's why I'm creating the Stoic Relationship Blueprint, the ultimate guide for men who want to master themselves and, in turn, master their relationships. This isn't just another ebook. It's a revolution, a step-by-step guide to transform you into the man women can't ignore. Dropping in just a few days, this blueprint will be your armor against the modern world's attacks on men. If you've ever felt overlooked, misunderstood, or undervalued, you're not alone, and you're not broken. You're simply being called to evolve. And when a man begins that evolution, there are unmistakable signs that he's leveling up into someone unforgettable. Here are 9 brutally honest signs you're becoming the man women can't ignore, and how to fully embody each one of them. Number 1. You master solitude. In a world that constantly bombards you with noise, distractions, and the illusion that your worth is determined by others, mastering solitude becomes a radical act of self-liberation. It's not about isolating yourself from the world, but about reconnecting with your inner self, understanding your values, and building a life that aligns with your true purpose. Imagine waking up each day not seeking validation from social media likes, not craving the approval of peers, and not fearing the absence of company. Instead, you find peace in your own presence, strength in your own thoughts, and clarity in your own direction. This is the essence of mastering solitude. By embracing solitude, you create a space where you can reflect, plan, and grow without external interference. It's in this space that you can identify your goals, understand your motivations, and develop the discipline needed to pursue your ambitions relentlessly. Nowhere can a man find a more untroubled retreat than in his own mind. That's not a motto, it's a reminder, a code, a principle to live by. To master solitude, start by setting aside time each day for self-reflection. Use this time to journal your thoughts, meditate on your goals, and assess your progress. Gradually, you'll find that your need for external validation diminishes, and your confidence in your own judgment grows. As you become more comfortable in your own company, you'll notice a shift in how others perceive you. Your independence and self-assuredness will become magnetic, drawing people towards you without any effort on your part. Women, in particular, are naturally attracted to men who exude confidence and don't seek approval. They're not drawn to neediness. They're drawn to quiet certainty. That man who walks into a room without the need to be seen, yet is always noticed. That's what solitude builds. Mastering solitude is not about being alone. It's about being whole. It's about building a life that is so fulfilling and purpose-driven that the presence or absence of others doesn't define your happiness. By doing so, you become the man who is not only self-sufficient, but also irresistibly attractive to those around you. If you find yourself anxious when no one texts or scrolling endlessly for stimulation, ask yourself this: what are you trying to avoid? Often it's your own mind, but that mind is your kingdom. Own it. Number 2, you control your desires. Desire, when left unchecked, can be a powerful force that leads to distraction, dissatisfaction, and a constant feeling of lack. However, when you learn to control your desires, you harness that energy and redirect it towards meaningful pursuits that align with your values and goals. Think about the countless times you've been tempted by short-term pleasures, be it impulsive purchases, fleeting relationships, or indulgent habits, that ultimately left you feeling empty. Now, imagine channeling that same energy into building a business, improving your health, or developing a new skill. The satisfaction derived from these accomplishments far outweighs any temporary pleasure. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. That insight doesn't just point to greed, it speaks to a lack of control. To control your desires, start by identifying the triggers that lead to impulsive behavior. Is it stress, boredom, or the influence of certain environments? Once you recognize these triggers, develop strategies to address them, such as engaging in physical activity, practicing mindfulness, or removing yourself from tempting situations. Additionally, set clear goals and remind yourself of them regularly. When faced with temptation, ask yourself whether indulging in a particular desire brings you closer to or further from your objectives. This practice of self-inquiry strengthens your resolve and keeps you aligned with your purpose. Controlling your desires doesn't mean suppressing them entirely. It means understanding them, evaluating their impact, and making conscious choices that serve your long-term well-being. By doing so, you cultivate discipline, build character, and become a man who is guided by reason rather than impulse. In relationships, this self-control is particularly powerful. Women are drawn to men who are not easily swayed by temptation, who have a clear sense of purpose, and who prioritize their values over fleeting pleasures. It's not about how many women you can get. It's about how few can distract you. When she sees that she's not your goal, but your reward for pursuing a higher one, that's when you become unforgettable. She wants to know you want her but don't need her, that you choose her, not because you're empty, but because you're full. By mastering your desires, you not only enhance your personal growth, but also become more attractive to those who value depth and integrity. Control over desire doesn't make you less of a man, it makes you more of one. The man who can say no when it's easy to say yes, the man who walks away from chaos because he knows peace is power, that man changes his world, not by force, but by discipline. Number 3, you outgrow small talk. The moment you begin to crave more than shallow words and empty exchanges, something powerful awakens in you, a sense that your time, energy, and presence are too valuable to be poured into conversations that go nowhere, into discussions that circle around gossip, surface-level opinions, or temporary thrills that neither build you nor inspire you. You begin to notice that your mind, once desperate to be liked or blend in, now aches for substance. You want to talk about principles, not preferences, visions, not vanity. You no longer smile politely when someone brags about how busy they are or how much they partied last weekend. You question silently what that has to do with growth, discipline, or legacy. And you start withdrawing from people who never ask real questions, who never challenge your thinking, who don't even know how to sit still and think deeply. The truth is, as you evolve, your communication does too. You start to notice that speaking less but saying more is not just efficient, it's magnetic. You speak when you have something worth sharing, and when you do, people stop to listen, because every word carries intention. Your questions become sharper, your listening deeper, your energy more exact. And it isn't arrogance that pushes you away from the crowd, it's clarity. You're no longer looking for connection at the cost of your standards. Ask yourself, how many conversations have you walked away from feeling empty, as though the hours drained you instead of fueling you? When you outgrow small talk, you stop betraying your mind's hunger for truth and depth. You walk away from empty interactions without guilt because you know what you bring to the table now: curiosity, vision, insight, fire. And in doing so, you attract people who live on the same frequency. Women who see past your silence and feel your mind, friends who talk about building, not escaping, and mentors who sharpen your ideas instead of dulling your instincts. Stoicism teaches that we should speak only when our words are better than our silence, but beyond that, it reminds us that every conversation is an opportunity to either grow or regress. So when you walk into a room, ask yourself, am I here to be filled or drained, to trade wisdom or waste it? Your mind, once dulled by filler talk, becomes laser-focused when surrounded by those who value substance. And this shift doesn't just change your conversations, it changes your life. Every word you choose becomes part of your identity. Every discussion becomes an extension of your values. And suddenly, you're no longer speaking to be liked. You're speaking to build, to lead. Number 4, you prioritize purpose. There is a moment every man faces where he realizes that no relationship, no accolade, and no distraction will ever fill the void that only purpose can. That deep, gnawing void of directionlessness isn't solved with love or money. It's solved with mission. And when you begin to prioritize purpose truly and fully, you stop making decisions that please the crowd or win the woman. You begin to build your life not for applause, but for meaning. The man who lives for purpose is unshakable because he knows exactly what he's waking up for. You no longer ask shallow questions like, "What should I do today?" Instead, your life is built around a question that haunts and owns you. Who must I become to fulfill this mission? The Stoics remind us that the proper work of the soul is to follow reason. And nothing is more reasonable, more necessary than anchoring your life in something bigger than you. Your purpose becomes your compass in chaos. When friends fade, when relationships get tested, when emotions cloud your judgment, your purpose remains. It pulls you out of bed at 5 a.m. while others sleep. It stops you from texting her back when your heart wants her, but your future doesn't. It gives you something so meaningful to chase that every distraction, every detour, suddenly feels like a betrayal to your potential. And when a man walks with that kind of clarity, women notice. They feel it in your presence, that quiet, unshakable commitment to something beyond romance, beyond validation. You're no longer trying to win her. You're trying to win the man you're becoming. And paradoxically, that's what wins her. The man on mission is irresistible, not because he makes time for everything, but because he guards his time like it's sacred. He doesn't cancel his gym session for a date, doesn't abandon his business to please her emotions, and doesn't fold when questioned about his choices, because he knows purpose before pleasure is the path to true fulfillment. And this doesn't mean you become cold or distant. No, it means you become so clear about your direction that everything in your life either aligns with it or fades from it. And that's not selfish, it's self-honoring. When you prioritize purpose, you move from reacting to life to designing it. Every choice becomes deliberate, every step forward meaningful. You stop wondering if you're wasting time because every day is an investment in the man you are building. You create a rhythm to your life that generates momentum, confidence, and peace. Because even on hard days, you know why you're here. Ask yourself, what are you sacrificing your future for right now? Is that worth it? Are you abandoning what matters for what's easy? A man who answers that honestly and acts on it begins to separate himself from the masses. And in that separation, he finds himself. Your purpose won't always be popular, but it will always be powerful. It will require sacrifice, it will demand courage, and it will push you to levels you didn't know you could reach. But once you prioritize it, you'll never again settle for a life that doesn't set your soul on fire. Because you'll finally understand that being pulled by purpose is far more powerful than being pushed by pain. Number 5. You know when to disappear. In a world that constantly demands your attention, knowing when to step back becomes a revolutionary act of self-preservation. It's not about running away. It's about recognizing when a situation no longer serves your growth and having the courage to walk away. This discernment is a hallmark of a man who values his peace over unnecessary chaos. Consider the times you've stayed in environments that drained you, relationships that stifled you, or conversations that led nowhere. Now, imagine the power in choosing to remove yourself from these situations, not out of fear, but out of respect for your own well-being. This is the essence of knowing when to disappear. By stepping away, you create space for introspection, healing, and realignment with your values. It's in these moments of solitude that clarity emerges, allowing you to make decisions rooted in wisdom rather than impulse. The Stoics emphasize the importance of retreating into oneself, finding tranquility amidst external turmoil. To cultivate this trait, start by setting boundaries that protect your energy. Recognize the signs of toxicity and have the strength to distance yourself, even if it means being alone for a while. Use this time to reconnect with your purpose, reassess your goals, and fortify your inner resilience. In relationships, this ability to withdraw gracefully signals emotional maturity. It shows that you're not dependent on others for validation and that you prioritize your mental and emotional health. Women are drawn to men who exhibit this level of self-awareness and control. Remember, disappearing isn't about avoidance. It's about choosing where to invest your time and energy wisely. By doing so, you reclaim your power, preserve your peace, and position yourself for greater fulfillment. Number 6. You don't entertain drama. Engaging in unnecessary conflict and emotional turbulence is a sign of a man who hasn't mastered his inner world. Choosing not to entertain drama is a testament to your emotional intelligence and commitment to peace. It's about recognizing that not every battle is worth fighting and that your energy is better spent on pursuits that align with your purpose. Think about the times you've been pulled into arguments that led nowhere, situations that escalated over trivial matters, or relationships that thrived on conflict. Now, envision the strength it takes to remain calm amidst chaos, to respond with composure rather than react impulsively. This restraint is a powerful display of self-control. By refusing to engage in drama, you set a standard for how you expect to be treated and what you will tolerate. This clarity deters those who seek to disrupt your peace and attracts individuals who respect your boundaries. The Stoics taught that we should not be disturbed by external events, but should maintain our inner tranquility regardless of circumstances. To embody this principle, practice mindfulness and emotional regulation. When confronted with provocation, pause and assess whether engaging serves any constructive purpose. Often, the most powerful response is no response at all. In relationships, your refusal to entertain drama communicates stability and maturity. It shows that you're grounded, not easily swayed by emotional outbursts, and committed to healthy communication. This demeanor is inherently attractive, as it provides a sense of security and predictability. Ultimately, by not entertaining drama, you conserve your energy for meaningful endeavors, maintain your focus on personal growth, and cultivate an environment conducive to peace and productivity. Number 7. You don't negotiate your boundaries. The day you stop apologizing for your standards is the day you begin to command true respect, not just from women, but from the world itself. Boundaries aren't walls meant to keep people out. They are gates designed to protect your values, your peace, your identity. And when you set them clearly and enforce them consistently, you announce to the world that your life has a direction, your time has worth, and your character has weight. There is nothing weak about compassion, but there is everything destructive about accommodating behavior that violates your core. Think back to every moment you bit your tongue to avoid confrontation, said yes when you meant no, or stayed silent while your self-respect eroded quietly beneath the surface. Those were the moments you abandoned yourself to please others. A man without boundaries is not generous. He is invisible. He gets used, drained, dismissed, and forgotten. And this is where transformation begins, not in becoming louder, but in becoming firmer. Not in raising your voice, but in refusing to lower your standards. The Stoics lived by the discipline of personal responsibility and reason. They taught that nothing is more noble than to be governed by principle, even when it is uncomfortable. When you draw the line, whether it's in how you're spoken to, what you tolerate in a relationship, or how you allow people to access your energy, you will lose the wrong people and gain your self-respect. Women instinctively test a man's boundaries, not out of malice, but to feel where his strength truly lies. Will he fold to affection? Will he compromise his standards for attention? Or will he stay grounded in who he is, unmoved by approval and rejection alike? The man who honors his boundaries is magnetic because he demonstrates that no external reward is worth internal betrayal. If you want to own this trait, start by getting brutally honest about what you can't stand anymore. Write it down. What are you tolerating that silently drains you? What behaviors are you accepting in others that you'd never accept from yourself? Then communicate these boundaries clearly, not emotionally, not aggressively, just clearly. Enforce them without threats or ultimatums, just presence and consistency. And when they are tested, don't explain, don't justify, just act. If someone crosses your line and you do nothing, you didn't have a boundary, you had a preference. The difference between a man who gets walked on and a man who gets respected is simply whether or not he enforces what he claims to believe. No one respects a standard that collapses when tested. A man who lives by his code, honors his word, and draws the line without fear. He doesn't need to demand respect. It's given to him, almost involuntarily, because he has shown the world and himself that he is not for sale. Number 8, you're no longer ruled by emotion. There's a power that very few men in this world ever taste, the ability to feel deeply without being controlled by those feelings. To experience the full force of disappointment, anger, rejection, or desire, and yet still respond with clarity, reason, and deliberate intent. That is the difference between a man who reacts and a man who rules himself. When you are ruled by emotion, your life is like a ship caught in every storm, tossed, shaken, helpless to the waves of impulse. But when you master your emotional state, you become the storm itself, calm on the surface, powerful beneath, but always in control. The Stoics said that it's not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about those things. And this timeless truth reveals the path to sovereignty. When you detach your identity from what happens to you and anchor it in how you respond, you begin to live as a man who is no longer enslaved by the world's chaos. Think about this. How many times have you said or done something in a burst of emotion that you regretted? How many doors have you closed, relationships damaged, or opportunities missed because you couldn't pause before reacting? Now, imagine who you would become if nothing could trigger you unless you allowed it. If every word spoken against you, every test thrown your way, every temptation placed before you, all of it became data, not drama. And imagine how powerful you would feel walking through this world, knowing that no situation owns you. You own your response. This doesn't mean you suppress your emotions. It means you understand them, study them, and decide how and when to express them. A man who can sit with his anger without needing to explode, who can face heartbreak without begging to be accepted, who can see disrespect and walk away without explanation. He is not weak, he is dangerous in the best way. And yes, women notice. They feel it in your energy, in the way you don't flinch under pressure, don't escalate in chaos, and don't chase when things fall apart. You become the safe place and the strong force. You are calm in conflict, measured in love, and rooted in principle. To develop this emotional discipline, start with the breath. When triggered, before speaking, breathe. When tempted, before acting, breathe. Then question your reaction. Ask, what outcome do I want? Will this response create that? If not, choose a different one. This single practice will transform the way you lead your relationships, your business, and your life. Because once you realize you can be deeply emotional and still remain unshaken, you will stop fearing your feelings and start using them as fuel. The man who is no longer ruled by emotion doesn't seek control over others. He seeks mastery over himself, and that mastery is what makes him unstoppable. Number 9. You are not afraid to walk away. The moment you realize that your presence is a privilege, not a plea, is the moment everything in your life begins to shift. You stop begging for attention, chasing after approval, or trying to convince someone to choose you. You understand that walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the act of a man who knows that staying in the wrong place is more dangerous than leaving without a map. And the man who isn't afraid to walk away is the man who is never trapped by a woman, by a job, by friends, or by fear. He doesn't hold on out of desperation. He lets go out of devotion to his future. Ask yourself, how many times have you stayed somewhere you knew deep down was costing you your dignity, your direction, your peace? How often have you tolerated being half-loved, half-heard, or half-seen because the thought of being alone terrified you more than being disrespected? When you reach the point where you would rather be alone in truth than surrounded in illusion, you become free. The Stoics taught us to practice poverty, to imagine loss, so we never become slaves to the things we think we can't live without. And this mindset, this detachment from outcome, is what makes you powerful. Because when a man is willing to walk away from anything that compromises his mission or violates his values, he becomes untouchable. You can't bribe him, manipulate him with guilt, or control him with fear. His loyalty isn't to comfort, it's to character. His allegiance isn't to feeling good, it's to becoming great. And women, whether they admit it or not, are magnetized by this strength, not because they want to be left, but because they want to know the man they're with has the power to leave and still chooses to stay. That's the difference between dependence and decision. And when you embody that mindset, everything shifts. You're no longer proving your worth. You're walking in it. You're no longer hoping someone will choose you. You've already chosen yourself. And the relationships you attract from that space are deeper, healthier, and infinitely more respectful. But to get there, you must do the hard thing. You must be willing to risk being alone in order to never again be in the wrong company. You must be willing to walk away from people who love your potential but hate your standards. From women who want access to your strength but none of your structure. From environments that reward your comfort and punish your growth. This kind of detachment isn't numbness, it's maturity. It's not cold-hearted, it's clear-headed. And if you want to live this truth, start today by identifying the things you fear losing most and ask yourself, if I lost this tomorrow, would I still be me? If the answer shakes you, it's time to reclaim yourself. Walking away isn't about rejecting others, it's about returning to yourself. And when you do that, consistently and unapologetically, you become a man no one can take for granted again. Not because you're harsh, but because you've proven your value, first and foremost, to yourself. The man who walks away, not out of pride, but out of principle, leaves a mark. Not just on the world, but on every soul who ever tried to keep him small. Because he didn't just leave, he leveled up. You've made it this far because something inside you is done settling, done being ignored, done being walked on. You've felt the sting of being overlooked by the very people you've given your best to. You've known what it's like to be loyal in a world that sees loyalty as weakness. You've bent until you broke, stayed when you should have walked, and kept giving when nothing was ever given back. And now, you're waking up. You're starting to remember who you are. That's why I created the Stoic Relationship Blueprint, because men like you don't need another gimmick, another dating hack, or another hollow motivational quote. You need a strategy, a philosophy, a code. This ebook is more than information. It's your weapon. It's the clarity you've never been taught, the roadmap you've never been given, and the answers you've been silently searching for when no one seemed to understand what you were going through. It's dropping in just a few days, and let me be clear, this isn't for everyone. We are capping the number of sales because this blueprint is not meant for mass consumption. It's meant for men who are ready to lead, to rise, to reclaim everything this society tried to strip away from them. The reason for the cap? Because this isn't about scale, it's about impact. If you get access, you're getting elite-level insights that won't be available ever again. We want this in the hands of action takers, not spectators. Of kings, not clowns. You either build your life with precision, or the world builds it for you with confusion. Comment the blueprint if you're serious about transforming your relationships, your purpose, your power, for good. If you want this ebook the moment it drops, make sure you're subscribed, notifications on, and ready to claim it before the window closes.